Hello and welcome to this video on the switch case control structure, which is a conditional control structure, and it's just another way to write nested if-else statements. The syntax for the switch case statement is that you start with the keyword switch, and then you look for the word, put in an expression. Now this expression could be a variable name, it could be an element value, whatever you're looking for. Okay, that's what it's there for. We then have the curly brackets, and you'll notice that there are a pair of them. It opens and it closes. And inside the curly brackets we put our cases. So in this case or situation I've got three cases. I've got a value 1, a value 2 and a default. The default acts like the else statement in an if-else, so it's the false. If nothing else matches, it's the okay, well, this is what you've got to have, so that end error message, possibly. The first two are looking at the values. So if the expression has the value of value 1, it will execute the code for value 1 and then stop. And the word break makes that stop. If the expression had the value of value 2, then it would conduct those statements and then stop with the break. Switch statements are best used if you're going to have a large nested if-else statement. So if you've got lots of nested if-else statements in your code, I'd suggest that you use a switch case. However, if you've only got 2 values or 3 values like this example, I would just do nested if-else statements. I wasn't going to write up a large case because I'm just trying to show you the syntax at this point. So let's go to the example that I prepared a bit earlier. Okay, so here we have our membership form in the HTML, and this is actually in a folder from lesson 2-2, which you can download from Blackboard as a zip file. I'm also using a text editor called TextMate this time, so that you can see a different text editor. The thing I like about TextMate is that it provides me with this project drawer, and in my project drawer I can actually see the file structure that I have for my site. So I have my site folder, and then inside that I have my style folder, my scripts folder, and then just my HTML. So on this form, it's a membership form. So people are wanting to know how much they're going to pay for membership. The 2 fields that we're going to look at particularly are the select with an ID of type, and this is a select, and then inside select we have options. So this is a paired form element, select option. And the value of the option becomes the value of the select field because it's nested inside. The next one we have is the input type number for the ID years, because we want a whole number. Remember that the number type field in HTML5 does not actually deal well with decimals. The last field where our result is a text field for the cost with an ID of cost. The other thing to note on the form is that I have put in my script tags down the bottom here so that I can actually join the HTML to the JavaScript. If we don't do that, then the script's not going to run or work. So now to the JavaScript. Just go to the top. This is our script, and it's about calculating the cost of a membership. So to calculate the cost of a membership, we need to have a calculate function, which I've started here in line 6. And after that, I've put in use strict. Remember that with use strict, it's because we want good error messages to come back. The next one is the cost variable. So we need to have a variable declared to put our cost in. Again, it hasn't had anything assigned at this point. If I was just going to have it for a calculation, I might say equals 0, but that's not necessarily guaranteed in this point because it might actually be a string. And here is where we're looking for the two form elements with the ID of type and years. So we're using the DOM method, get element by ID. So document meaning the web page, get element by ID meaning that we're looking for type, an ID of type, and type's ID is here, which is inside the select. So it's the select that we're looking for there. And the same for years. Years is this input box here. The next thing we want to do is we want to convert years to a numeric number, not a character number. Again, remember that when we put things into an input box, it's just counted as characters. It's alphanumeric characters. It's not necessarily a number like a numeric number. It just treats it like a character. So we need to make sure that it is a number. So to do that, we have to make sure that we've got years, that there is that element years, and that there is a value in it, that there is some sort of value in it, some number. And then when we do that, we use this new inbuilt method, called parseInt. And what that means is it changes the value of years to an integer. So we know that JavaScript is loosely typed, but this is how we can make sure that the value is an integer. The next thing to do is we're going to look for valid data. So we need to make sure there's something in type and in years, that there's a value in type which is already predetermined, and that years is greater than 0. So all of these have to be true for us to go into the rest of the code. And this is where our switch case statement is. So we're looking for, our expression is type.value, okay? And then in that we've got basic, premium, gold and platinum. These are strings, so they're in single quotes. But these refer to the option values. Because the option is nested inside select, the value of select becomes the value of the option. And this is the drop-down box that we'll see in a bit. You also have to make sure that basic, gold, premium, gold and platinum are exactly the same case. If they're not the same case, then this case statement won't work. It has to be exactly the same string. So if it is basic, we then assign a value to cost. So each of these cases, there's no default case, each of these cases is about assigning a value, so to cost. So for basic it's 10, premium's 15, gold's 20, and cost for platinum is 25. And that's all we have for our switch statement. It's about assigning a value to cost. In line 43, we're doing the calculation for the final showing that cost is, when we do the cost as result, when we assign that result to the value of the cost input element. So in this case, we've got cost multiply equal years. Now remember that that is a combined assignment math operator, or arithmetic operator. So it's equivalent to cost equals cost times years. And one of the rules is that if you've got more than 1 year, you get a discount. You get a discount of 20%. So that means we have to times cost by 80% so that it's not the same, so that the discount appears. So in this case, again, it's cost time multiply equal 0.80. So 0.80 is the 80%. We can't actually use the percentage sign, so we put it in as a decimal. In line 51, we're actually putting it in as get element by ID cost.value. So we're reassigning a string back to cost so it can be displayed. And in our string we put the $sign and then we put the value of cost fixed to 2 decimal places because we're talking about dollars and cents. So that's what this means. But you might say, hang on, there's a addition symbol or operator in the middle of that sentence and we're not doing math. Well, the reason for that is because the addition symbol is also used for joining 2 pieces of information within JavaScript. So a string and a variable. So this is the string and this is the variable. So it's joining those 2 pieces of information together. And that's called concatenation. However, you just have to be aware of when you use the plus sign and how you're going to use it. Because if you're going to use it for addition, you don't need any strings around the place. This code that I've been running through only occurs if line 24 is true. If line 24 is true, then all those other lines are going to happen. But if it's not true, we need to give an error message. So that's what line 54 is about. Please enter valid values, and that will go into that input element. We return false because we do not want the actual form to submit at the moment. So the return false stops the default action or event of submitting the form. And then lines 62 to 67 is all about the standard initial setup function we use and the window.onload event that we need to load the initial setup. So that's it in a nutshell in a calculation or a membership file. So I'll just bring it up in a browser, and this is my browser. I'm using Chrome for a change. And on here, if I put a 1 year and calculate the cost, it's $10. If I say it's 5 years, it calculates the cost as $40. So that's the basic calculation at the moment. That's it for the switch case statement, and we will go on to some loops in the next video. But do read through the book about the sections on comparing strings and on some cryptic conditionals and comparing numbers. So all that script is basically if statements being used to compare different things. So have a read of it. The next one for comparing strings actually has a bit of basic email validation in there. So have a read, have a go at the code. You've got the raw files there to start with, and I'll see you back with